I
Good
think
move.
so. I don't know if it's definitive, but they're just
Oh, yeah.
giving themselves some breathing room. And the whole idea is coming
Yep.
up with the money. You know, that's the big thing. Where's the money gonna come from? And we can talk about that. Polling.
We're at 4.
Yeah.
It's 4.
It's 4
Not
now.
out here. No.
TikTok went the clock.
Interstate, revenues from the interstate.
Yeah. Sorry.
He's not.
Hey, it was his fault. He was bragging about the Brewers, as he
He used to
should.
be my boss, I wouldn't bang the thing. Let's call to order this meeting of the Warsaw Redevelopment Association. And we'll start.
Commission.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can sit down now.
He was gonna sing
Please
the
be
national
seated.
anthem.
Just kidding.
Okay, well, the first item of business is approval of the minutes from July 7th. I assume you guys had a chance to look those over.
That would be a good assumption.
I didn't see anything in there.
There's no, I'll make a motion if there's no.
Okay, Bill's made a motion to accept the minutes as presented,
I'll second.
and Jack has seconded that. Thank you, fellas. All in favor of approving the minutes as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, thank you. New business?
Oh, we do not have anything new.
Meeting's almost over.
Yeah, almost.
Almost over.
We have a lot of things in the works, but I couldn't get anything done before this meeting, so.
Yeah, well, we had to approve claims.
And yeah, you'll see the claims and we'll talk a little bit about that, but yeah.
Okay, well, if we can think of everything, you can extend the meeting down at other business.
There you
If you
go.
think of something. So, let's look at those claims. Anybody has
So we
any-
have a lot of them, and the reason for this meeting was specific to a couple of the bottom ones, which we'll go through. But the first one, NIPSCO, is for the Marsh property. The WCDC Corp agreement with Main Street, the invoice for them, $10,642.85. A&Z Engineering, 2120 for roundabout County Road 200 North and Husky Trail. KDI, 15,000 is for engagement with Ball State on the Winona Avenue project.
Bless you.
The two Prince land surveying, 3350 and 45 are for one is for the Tech Park plat. The other one's for the Marsh plat. I went to the Plan Commission last week. Bank of New York, the $37,968.65 is the RIF bond payment for the first bond payment for the Bella Augusta project. And the real reason for this meeting is next 7 claims are disbursements from the street department bond issue. 2 to Baker Tilly, 13,565 and 65,000. Muni platform, 750. Standard Poor's, 22,277. Rock Hill Pinnock, 15,750. Barnes and Thornburg, 95, 190.83. And Robinson Construction, 692, 885.66. And that all comes out of the bond funds for the street department bond.
And of course, the Robinson construction, that was, a lot of that was acquisition.
Yes, acquisition and demolition for the soon-to-be quickly moving forward project, but yeah.
Are the houses gone?
I think at least 2 of them are,
They were working on them I was down
Yeah.
there last Monday.
yeah.
They were going down fast.
Yeah, they didn't take Didn't take long.
No.
Make a motion to approve the claims as presented.
Okay, Joe's made a motion to approve the claims as presented.
I'll second.
All right, Mike is second. That. So we have first and a second, all in favor of approving the claims as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against, say nay. All right, claims are approved.
Jeremy, question on the Husky Trail roundabout. What's timeline there? I know there's work going on there and traffic snarled up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a specific timeline. I'm kind of, so part of it, and I think we've talked about this, was having it ready to go because of what may happen when Parkview opens up their facility. Wanted an action plan for the traffic that it's going to generate. We know that intersection at certain times of the day is not great as it is now. And when you add 300 employees and God knows how many visitors a day to that Parkview facility, it could make that intersection almost non-functioning. So wanting a plan so it could be next year, could be a year from now, just kind of watching it to see what happens. I don't intend to use federal funds for it, so it will be a TIF-funded project.
Yeah.
But we do have some property acquisition we would have to do, so some of the timing may be once we have the design and we know what right-of-way we need. It's going to depend on how long it takes to acquire that right-of-way as well.
It's really become a busy area.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So the idea is the plan will be done. We'll know what right-of-way. We can slowly work on acquiring the right-of-way, and depending on the traffic after the new developments start, we may have to move quicker or slower on it depending. We've got 3 purchase agreements we're working on. I was kind of hoping to have some of them ready for this meeting, but we didn't get them done. We've got the AutoCam, the Marsh, and the Outlaw. So working on putting together 3 purchase agreements. AutoCam went, the plat for the Marsh and AutoCam went Monday at the Plan Commission. They were approved and recorded. AutoCam went, the resolution from you went to the Plan Commission, and the Plan Commission's resolution goes to the council tonight. Jack and Mike will see that tonight. Once that's approved, it'll come back for your final approval at the next meeting. So, a lot of irons in the fire.
Mine was Sherman, Joe. What were you gonna ask?
No, I've got, just kind of a general question. I had a good conversation with the mayor today from up in the region about the future of projects that are funded by bonds. You know, given the the revenue situation is going to be different. Businesses established after January 1 of this year will not have a 30% floor. And I'm wondering, and I know, Jeremy, you're very in tune with this, how do you see that impacting future bond projects with those reductions in revenue? You know, I know it depends. Most of that property is depreciated, out over about 10 years.
Yeah, 5 to
If
7.
that.
5 to 7. Most of it is depreciated within 5 years. There are some 7 and 8 year. There might be some 10-year, but I'd say the bulk of all equipment's depreciated through a 5 to 7 year period. So it doesn't have a long, high level life anyhow. And then top it all off, we abate most of it during its most valuable time anyhow. And from a TIF perspective, it's going to have very little impact because we don't technically collect personal property taxes in TIF unless we do a bond specific to it, right?
Right.
And the value of those bonds are lesser because of that lifespan and the depreciation so fast. So the long-term value of that personal property is not really there. So it's not, we've only done, the Wynonna PVDs were the only bonds we've done that were kind of based off that. So I don't think it'll play a huge part, but in terms of the actual taxes, obviously it will have an impact on, it'll have an impact on the growth rate of our taxes going forward, because it's just going to be less revenue that we would collect. And some of it, I think, will depend on probably some unknowns, like what does the floor become, right? And depreciating down all the way to zero is fine, but how do you determine that? And if the equipment's still in production, then it can't be a zero valuation, right? It still has some kind of value. They're still using it. So I'm curious how all that plays out over the next couple of years, but yeah.
And in a similar vein, the revenue collected, increment collected in a residential TIF district is now going to be subject to all the credits and deductions.
Yep.
Assessed value is going to go down.
Yep.
The tax rate's going to go up.
Yep.
How does that play in our revenue scenario that we've kind of projected for the residential TIFs?
It's going to have an impact. I mean, fortunately for us, we've only done a bond issue, and that bond issue, as you can see, the payments are $88,000, and we're not going to be impacted enough to threaten that bond issue.
That one, yeah.
But it's definitely going to impact our ability to do projects as we move forward. It's just going to be less revenue. I mean, the more houses you build, it's just less revenue. The impact is smaller, which means our projects become less impactful, unfortunately.
So then the final piece of that is like the general obligation bond. And those in the past have been supported by the tax revenue. How's that going to play out? You know, with lit tax taking over, a lot of people are saying, well, you're going to have trouble bonding income tax because Standard & Poor's doesn't like the fact that it's not as stable as property tax, and it has to be approved every year by the council, at least the way it stands right now.
Stands right now, yeah.
Yeah, I know they're going to try and make those changes, but, you know, what do you see as far as, and I know it's a little out of the purview of Redevelopment Commission, but what do you see on general obligation bonds?
It's going to be harder, period. Like, I'm hoping they make some changes, because what they've done is not good. And using that as a bond, you know, if you're looking at S&P and bond ratings and how they do that, it's going to be the valuation of it, and the valuation of it's going to have an impact on the rate you get, and it's going to have an impact on the duration. It's going to have an impact on your coverage, how much, you know, how much are you bonding for? All of those are going to make it much more difficult to complete projects or do bond projects in the future, especially when it comes to economic development income tax or lit, whatever you want to call it, because it's not as stable. And because of that, whether they allow you to bond with it or not, it's going to have an impact on that rate, and it's going to have an impact on the duration
Right.
and coverage.
So suffice it to say, there's a lot of thought being given within AIM and other organizations on what type of fixes are necessary to neutralize some of these big issues that have come up, and the bonding, I know, is one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've used it, Warsaw's used it as coverage for a number of our bonds, and that becomes lesser value now.
Right.
Not to mention the revenue side is going to be less, so, I mean, we've got all kinds of challenges when it comes to that, so we're going to have a lot of conversations with them over the next 6 months. hopefully there's some solutions, because it's not really sustainable moving forward the way they have it now for us,
Right.
without some major cuts.
Yeah, I know the city is susceptible with business personal property tax be a big part of our assessed value.
Yeah.
So I think our concerns are very real. And hopefully we'll get a lot done this summer to address potential neutralizations of what's
Yeah.
going on. So,
Yeah, that's the hope, because the way it stands now, it'll be very, very challenging moving forward over the next 2 years.
all right, didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I know that's your language.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Joe. You get around and you meet these mayors, you hear a lot, we don't. I have to think that Warsaw is probably in a little better shape than most places. Would that be a fair statement, or am I wrong?
I would say, right now, the way it stands, communities that show positive growth in AV will benefit because the property tax system is going to be based on, it's going to be a rate-based system. So there's not going to be a growth quotient every year of 3%. It's going to be based on what your revenue does, or excuse me, your assessed value does. So if your assessed value goes up, you'll be able to collect more AV or revenue. So in that respect, I would say, I mean, they're saying right now, if you take the lit and try and replace what we're going to lose in property taxes with a local income tax, with a 1.2%, that's what they propose, that's going to be our cap. 83% of the communities, it's not going to keep up with it. But those that don't have high tax rates and show growth in their AV are going to be positioned better to not lose as much. So in that respect, I would say yes. The big issue with lit right now is that nobody knows how much we're going to be able to collect, because those who come in to our community and work from other communities, that money doesn't stay here. That income tax that we generate goes to the communities that they live in. And there's no way to figure what amounts of revenue we stand to gain with a 1.2% local lit. That's probably one of the bigger challenges.
Yeah, because we have a lot of people that commute in and.
Well, I know in the orthopedic industry, an old study that OrthoWorks did, it was 38% came in from 29 different counties. So that money will all be going back, you know. But I know we have people that go out of the community and come back to work, and there will be some benefit there. But knowing what that amount is going to be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge you have is communities that are high residential and low commercial and industrial will have a bigger benefit from the lit tax as it's being designed, or as it's currently designed. And those communities who are high in industry and commercial, but low in residential, are going to be penalized. Because the lit tax is where you sleep at night, right? Not where you work. So we may be employing a lot of people, but they're leaving here and going somewhere else to sleep.
It's another reason to have as much housing as we can.
Yes, and obviously, we've been working on this for the better part of a decade, trying to create more housing, and we have been, and we continue to do that, but even moving forward, it's going to be even more important that people are living here where they're working, because now, if it stands the way it is, that lit tax is going to be, and you can do an estimate. I mean, I ran, so Baker Tilly did an estimate, and I ran kind of my own estimate just to see how close we were, just purely based on population and your median income. right? So we know what our workforce population is based on the census data, and you know what your workforce annual average income is. It's not good. The 1.2% is not going to come close to generate what we're losing.
Yeah, and that's really what AIM is focusing on, is trying to get that lit formula changed. So for the majority of municipalities in Indiana, 1.2% isn't going to cut it. That's a big problem. Other problems are small communities under 3,500 are going to have to rely on the distribution from the county. And if you've got a lot of small towns in your county, you know, the small communities tend to be, in the way it's set up now, they tend to be bottom feeders. They get what's left. So I know AIM is trying to lower that threshold from 3,500 population down to whatever they could get it to. But there will have to be a local income tax approved and adopted by the city in 2027. So there's a little bit of time between now and then, but that's, you know, knowing that the property tax rates are going to take significant hits after that. Right now, as proposed, that will not offset those losses for most communities, but if they don't adopt it, it's going to be really difficult.
It won't be
So-
difficult, it'll be impossible.
It'll
Like,
be
you guys are
impossible.
gonna be in an unenviable situation because it doesn't matter what you do, you're gonna have no choice. If you don't do it, you might as well cut 50% of the city's workforce because you ain't gonna be you're not gonna pay for it in less than a year.
So to answer your question, Mike, nobody's in a great position. We have some advantages. The other issue is they don't know what the property tax losses are going to look like unless they would actually do a parcel by parcel analysis. And I don't, Jeremy, is the city having that done now?
Yeah, I mean, Baker Tilly's supposed to be working on a more detailed report, but we don't have it yet. And the property tax, so the property tax side of it is of less concern to me. I mean, it is concerning, but it's of less concern because we are growing and we are adding to our AV. And so in theory, yes, we're going to lose revenue, but we're going to lose revenue we would gain, not revenue we already have, right? So it's like, we're not going to lose 600,000 we're collecting. We're going to lose 300,000 we could have collected.
Yeah.
So that just becomes us tightening our belt, right? Like being more disciplined and more efficient and effective in the things we do. That I can deal with. The lit side is not a loss of what we would gain. It's a loss of what we're already getting, and that loss is unsustainable. Like, for us to lose that revenue, and granted, we're doing it purely based on estimates, but that's, at this point, that's all we have to go off of, right? I can only, outside of going to every employer and getting everybody's annual income and blah, 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 I mean, we can only go off of those estimates based on on the workforce we have, the average income of that workforce, and multiplying that out into a 1.2% lit tax. The reality is it's millions short. And how do you recover
Right
from
now,
that?
that analysis of counties, county by county, what's actually going to stay in the county and what will leave, you know, the state, and I don't know the agency, but they were supposed to have developed a layer of software that would do that. It would peg where people live and where they work. My understanding is that Hamilton County is the only county where that analysis has been done. So like Jeremy said, the biggest question mark is what we don't know and what no one can tell us. Partially the property tax losses and then the income tax gains are both numbers that don't seem to be visible right now. But again, I think having a little bit better position with growth will help us, but there's still big problems. And again, the idea is to try and come up with solutions that can be presented in the, this year's session, the 26th session, that would address some of these problems. And I think the lit formula is the thing they're really looking at. The 1.2% is not going to be enough for most. And then there's, you know, the fire territory, the 4%, or the 0.4%, I believe it is, isn't enough. How the smaller communities are going to get funded. There's a lot that needs to be addressed. We'll just leave it at that. But, you know, sitting on this board, I've just had these constant nagging questions of, you know, we've been so successful, we've had so much opportunity, and that still works in our favor. But when you're dealt some bad cards, you know, then what do you do? And we've got to be careful, both at the redevelopment level, and I'm sure Mayor Gross at the city level understand what we're dealing with right now. And a lot of it's just, there's a lot of information that has leveled off, but there's a lot that is still unknown. So I didn't mean to hijack the conversation, but I think it's an important one.
It's just a lot of more information we need at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
we're concerned, we've got things we got to figure out, and hopefully, over the next couple months, we'll have better information than what we have today, and hopefully we'll feel better about where we're at than we do today, but those are always concerns, and moving forward, how do we address what our challenges are.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it up. It's fascinating. It's interesting.
Well, I wish it wasn't fascinating and interesting.
Yeah.
I wish it was straightforward and
But we have to know.
workable.
We have to
Yes.
know
No,
what's
I-
on the horizon.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why, and you're right, that's why I mentioned it.
So the big points picking up from the discussion, 1.2 is not going to be enough if we go to that full.
The only, yeah, and I want to preface that because I know there's been a lot of conversations back and forth. We don't have enough information to give, I can only go
Our
off
current
of
understanding.
laws of averages. Like, and if I average out what I know today, it's not going to.
Yeah.
Now, that's just an average, right? Could that average be drastically wrong? I suppose if you had a significant more on the higher end than you did on the lower end, but then that's how averages work, right? It gets you. So if I'm not going to claim to be a mathematician, but law of averages usually plays out. And so if I go off the averages, then we have some problems we got to figure out.
And if we don't do something, then we're looking at potentially a lot of salaries having to be cut. Or I think you said something along that lines, and I just wanted.
Yeah, and I'm only, like I said, this is all based on what little information we have, right?
Right,
So I'm not,
exactly.
if I'm looking at my crystal ball, the information I have right now says it's not even sustainable.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about cutting because you're gonna not have any, you're gonna have to, and no matter what you
We
did,
won't
there's no
have the-
solution
we won't
to
have the
it.
money to do anything. so-
Yeah, there's no solution to it, right? You can't, and that's why I'm saying, it's just going off of what little information we have right now. And I'm hoping it gets better. I'm hoping Baker Tilly comes back and says, oh, no, this looks a lot better. But if you just look at the workforce based on the census, which is not 100% accurate, but within, and then the averages, if you look at those numbers and do the multiple, yeah, there's just, it does not compare to the revenue we're getting now, the 1.2. You'd have to almost, it'd be 1.5 times, you'd have to be 1.5 times that rate to even get back to even. And that's just operating at the base we're operating at now.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to hold you to, I understand this is all,
And you will hear, we have a lot of
Very
conversations, AIM's gonna be working on a lot of things, so there's a lot that's gonna happen in the next 6 to 8 months for sure. But at the end of the day, like Joe said, you have until 2027 to do something as it stands right now. So all of this conversation you will get as a council in the next year and a half anyhow, because you're gonna have to make a decision. If they do nothing, you're gonna have to create a lit tax. And then you're gonna understand what we're talking about, because you're gonna see the revenue side of the lit tax of what's projected and what we're receiving now, and you're gonna say, how's that possible? Well, it ain't possible. The only thing to do would be to cut, because you can't fill a $3 million gap.
Yeah, I think the financial consultants who are working with municipalities are doing the same exercises Jeremy is, probably a little bit different formulas. They probably all have their own means of doing it. What he says makes perfect sense. If you take that average wage and, but the bottom line is nobody knows exactly what it's gonna be, but don't stick your head in the sand and say it's gonna be fine, because I don't think we're at a point where you have that luxury. And, I know some of these some of these consultants are saying, you need to get your 5 and 10 year capital improvement plan figured out right now, and how you're gonna do things, because you're gonna need that. It's gonna be that tight. And how you support, how you fund those projects are all gonna have a big impact on where your revenue's coming from. So it's just, there's a lot we don't know, and I guess.
And there's a lot more to come, so
Yeah,
it wasn't meant to be an alarmist conversation, but certainly be thinking about questions you need to ask and things you need to know, because it will be, you and Mike are gonna be facing it head on within 6 to 8 months.
and I think it's important that when we talk to our state legislators, that we talk about the facts, not, as Jeremy said, not be alarmists. Talk about, what the unknowns are and how that could impact our decision-making, what it may do to future projects, and just we have to be realistic. Because, the sky is falling isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
And it's not effective, nobody listens to that, but you also have to have as much data as you can that's gonna show where we're gonna be as we look to 2027 to decide on the lit tax. And like Jeremy said, a lot can happen between now and then with the state legislature. I know they're gonna come back and really take a hard look at this, because cities and towns aren't the only ones complaining. Thank you.
Well, I don't think any other business.
You got nothing else?
August 4th,
Yes.
so next meeting.
Yep.
So with that,
I'd make a motion, we adjourn.
all right.
second.
All right, Mike has made the motion, Bill seconded, we adjourn.
On that happy note.
All in favor, say aye and amen.
Aye.
Something to sign?
Oh, yeah. Things can change.
Oh, yeah.
They can change, and
Yeah.
I can't think that they're going to have to change.